Blog Talk Radio.
Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Lord knows it's so sincere. I gave my heart to you. When my problems disappear. Where do I go? Which way to turn? Preacher man said hell is hot and I wanna burn. I listen to learn.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Impact Voice. This is your host, Furman Jackson. Sorry about the technical difficulties earlier. Today we're going to be talking about racism, of course. I have our guest on the line, Mrs. White from Mobile, Alabama. She's going to share her story for a brief minute. Like I said, I do apologize for the inconvenience, and I'm going to pull on in. Miss White, welcome to Impact Voice. Thank you for taking time out to beat the schedule.
Well, thank you for having me as a guest on Impact Voices. Good morning.
Good morning. I do appreciate you calling in. I do apologize for the technical difficulties. We're going to get into, I know you were telling me about your experience with a stalker. I know that's a crazy experience that no one should have to want to go through. And I know it's not a physical, but it's a mental torment for any male or female, don't matter. And I just want to share a scripture right quick, and I just want to talk about Matthew 22 and 39. It says, "And the second is like unto thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself." And we know in the child being children of God, we should have no racism in our lives at all. We should love everybody, treat everybody the way we want to be treated. But I just want to share that right quick. But Ms. White, go ahead and share your experience. I know we're not going to get everything all in one day.
A very appropriate scripture, love your neighbor as yourself, because at the time that I had incurred a situation, I was looking for a home, and I had gone throughout my area and chose some areas, DIP, Cottage Hill, to look for me a home. But in 2010, I was looking for a home and ended up turning into a scenic yacht basement on Clubhouse Road to turn around to come out, and I was attacked by a white man who called me a black nigger bitch, and also threatened to take my life and my daughter's life at the time. And this was in 2004. And I called Mobile Police, but didn't have much success with them. They came out and talked to the guy, and the guy told him he had a bad day that day. And, of course, I wouldn't let it go at that. I talked to my neighbor, and she called the press register and had them take her report. Of course, they wouldn't take it from me, all the stations that I called. 10, 5, 15, and they weren't interested in the story of that I had been attacked by a racist person in Mobile. But when she called, they took her story, and I had to go all the way to the magistrate office to get this man arrested. But he did get him arrested, went to an arraignment, was called by phone and told that he was found not guilty. And I didn't know that you couldn't call by phone to make a verdict, but I did investigate and found out that they can make a verdict either when you're present by phone or letter. But to make that story coincide with this story, afterwards, a lot of things started happening with me in my home or wherever resident I live. There was always somebody finding some type of way to get into my house, go through my papers, destroy my property, my Bibles, they were destroyed, poured coffee all over my carpet, beautiful trees and shrubbery or whatever I did in my landscaping that was destroyed. And this continued to happen over and over, and I continued to call the police about these occurrences. But there wasn't anything done because we didn't have a victim and couldn't put ID on as to who might do this to me. Of course, it was mentioned it might have been an ex, it might have been an ex-boyfriend, an ex-husband, and I would tell the police all the time, "Are you kidding?" I've never have been involved with anybody that would want to come back and hurt me or terrorize myself and my daughter, who has special needs, and we just continue to lift ourselves up in prayer and pray about this situation, just hoping that maybe the next place we move that we wouldn't be aggravated, harassed, or violated, or have these intrusions to occur, but they kept occurring. So I decided that I would move into the Cottage Hill area, which I thought was a really nice area. I had attended Davidson High School years ago. I just loved the area, and I had such a great time in my high school years. But to no avail, when we moved, the first 3 months was quiet in the neighborhood, and I would say for about 3 weeks or so, somebody would be in the yard hollering, screaming like Tarzan, doing the ah sound. And we never saw anybody because there was sort of like a wooded lot behind my home. And it went from that to paint drippings and being put at my back door, someone urinating at the front door, someone throwing bricks at my house. And I decided to put a camera up on the, I thought was the darkest side of the house underneath a tree. And at 8 o'clock one morning, I hear this loud noise. I go outside. The siding has been torn off the house, and the camera is crushed. I couldn't see anything on the monitor because it came up behind the camera and crushed it. So I called the police. They told me maybe this was a 14 to maybe a 20-year-old got some kind of obsession with the house. And I felt like that was a very weak answer, and it wasn't acceptable, but nothing I could do about it at that time. And I always go to pray about everything happened to frighten myself and my daughter. I've always been a praying person, and I've always relied on God to get me through whatever troubles were brewing.
Right.
So as time moved on, I realized that somebody was taking the screens off my back house, which is like a shop window, and laying the screen on the ground. Went into the back house. Somebody had cut the cord off of my treadmill machine. Water had been poured in the lawnmower. I had an electric lawnmower and a gas lawnmower. And my electric lawnmower, the cord had been cut on it, too. So I really started to get nervous about the neighborhood and what's going on and why is this happening to us over and over. And I had not connected it with the racism issue, and I thought about the person who attacked us could never run for office, should never be in a public seat after attacking us on Clubhouse Road and called me a black nimble bee. And although we had gone to court, I thought it had ended. But, of course, with these terrible things continuing to happen and the police hadn't been able to come up with a suspect, and this has gone on for so many years. I said for the last 8 to 9 years, but every time I see a noose out at University of South Alabama, it puts that person right back on my mind that attacked us on Clubhouse Road because he sits on the board at USA. He's one on the executive board. And I feel that somebody needs to hear my story because this has continued to happen to my daughter and I have not been able to get any help from the police department. Through all the years of living at the address where I live in Cottage Hill on Springdale Road, many officers had come out, and I would tell them a situation where my car was broken into and both of the handles were broken off of my back seat doors, back seat doors. The handles were broken into, and then the carpet was dyed, and the leather was cut out of the seats. And they would come out and give me a amount, write it up, and tell me when they catch this person, they'll be charged with this. So, of course, I decided to have a privacy fence put around the front of my house, a courtyard fence about 3.5 feet high. And I came home one day, and the locks had been taken off of the privacy fence and laid on the sidewalk at both entrances. And, of course, I'm looking around and wondering about my neighbors. Is this stalker maybe 2 blocks away, 1 block away, or whatever? And all the time that I had these thoughts in my mind that it was a neighbor or if it was somebody up the street or somebody saw us at a store, I would still say, why? Why would somebody choose my daughter and I? Well, I'm a small town girl. I'm just a mom. I've been caring for my daughter who has special needs for her whole entire life. I've been a caregiver, and there's no reason for it unless something that I did to somebody would cause them to do this, or somebody feel like I did something to them, and I always go right back to the time that I was attacked on Clubhouse Road by this particular person because they are a person mean, and that it probably put a damper on them that they have been exposed the day that they lost their temper on Clubhouse Road. But it gets even deeper than that. I feel like my stalker is a paid stalker. No one is going to continue to do this 8 or 9 years, go in someone's house, take all their clothes, their underwear, their nicest things that they have, take them away and keep them for 8 or 9 months and then bring them back and put them on top of my car. So this doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. This is somebody that wants to try to play mind game with someone, or otherwise to drive them insane or put them in bad health or give them a heart attack.
Right.
And to no avail has that happened because I have strong faith in God. I had gone to ministers, pastors, priests, talked to them about what's happening to me, and they continue to pray with me and give me scriptures to read and keep a smile on my face. My family members have stayed at my house, try to stay overnight, stay days, and try to catch this person. And I always felt like they were a step ahead of us. I really feel like my home had been bugged because who would have to come in your house to look through your papers, to go through your family Bibles if they got a list of what they need to do when they're inside of your home, to get information on you, where your whereabouts are, what kind of person you are, what do you do, so they can continue to set you up for failure. No brick was going to come in and just continue to come back and come back and come back. And everyone who asked me the question, well, how did they get in my home? At the time that I purchased my home, I felt so secure about the lock that was on there. It seemed to be working just fine, but I had no idea that you could stick an instrument, well, something like a big screwdriver, flathead, behind the metal facing on your door and pop the door open. Until one night I got locked out and I found out that that's what was going on with I didn't come into my house. Of course, if you live in this life, you always got to be on guard. The police told me to always carry a gun. They told me to shoot this person on sight. I couldn't sleep at night. I lost so much sleep, so much nighttime till in the daytime I didn't have much energy. I would be tired and frustrated and worn out from staying up, protecting what's mine. I really sort of relied on sleeping, taking cat naps during the day, and then another regimen of up all night. Of course, it made my life miserable. It even got to the point where I was single for years and years and years and years and years and years and years because others don't get involved. Like you got some ex-husband or ex-boyfriend or somebody stalking you when it had nothing to do with my personal life.
Anybody go through on the mental aspect of your life, and we know this stuff goes on. And Paul lets us know that we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, but spirit, principalities, and high places. So we know it's not a physical, fleshly warfare; it's a spiritual warfare. And we know they attach you mentally, and I say you give all glory to God for keeping you, because anybody else will mentally broke down and lost their mind, and just to really put you through that type of harm and danger to feel like they have the upper hand. But we know that God has the final say so, and He had kept you and your family in the midst of this chaos that was taking place in your life.
Yeah, most definitely. I give all my credit for being here, my presence today, and my state of mind to God, to the Almighty. I feel like I should have been torn to pieces, or maybe had a very bad nervous condition, which I don't. I'm maybe nobody to this group of people, which I feel like there are more than one working together to have been this successful at not being caught and brought down by the police officers. But as far as in God's eyes, the time is near. I feel that by me having this person arrested, that they would pay someone to make my life live in hell because of their mistake, what they did, but just that I accomplished having them arrested. It gets very deep. There's a whole lot more to this story that I could tell in 30 minutes. The family worked for the Mobile Municipal Courthouse, and then there's a lot that's going to probably take much more time, and I know it will, than today. But I could tell anybody. With what I've gone through, is like a nightmare, and it's worse than a nightmare on Am Street or any movie that has ever been made, because the same time I care about my daughter's health and her not knowing my true feelings, which I see her in order for her not to fall ill. But the fact is, my mother had told me that the time I had gone to court and taken this man to court, she asked me not to go further with it because she's passed away. She felt that I would be killed, but I feel that somebody's trying to kill me slowly anyhow, and I might as well tell my story and go ahead. Maybe some other people listening that have gone through some of the things that I have gone through, this day and time. They don't have to burn a cross in front of our house or do any of these other type of things and hangings that they did then. They're so involved in technology and black magic and other things come into play now if they want to form color. And I prayed to God about this situation for years and years, along with them doing the things that they've done to me. I have all the clothes in our house that were white, a rust-colored mark on everything white that I own, whether it be clothes or blankets or curtains or pillowcases. They stained all of our stuff.
Wow. And
that's enough to drive you crazy when you're looking in your closet and you pull out your white clothes and they're full of stains. And you wonder, what is going on? Why is this happening? And when we get our shoes, we take them out of our shoe bag, the heels have been cut, the leather's been cut off of them, the toes has been cut off of them. So it's definitely a scare tactic. Someone has personified terrorizing a person without pulling a gun.
Right. Right. And I say I hate that you had to go through that experience in your life for such a long time as that. And like I said, by the grace of God, we are here to be able to share that experience. And we know you're not the only one who's going through that experience. We know there's a lot of other people who has experienced that also in their lives. And not just really black, it could be white as well also, Just because you may be white, they experience racism too. So don't just think, we don't want you to think, well, it's just black. We know whites can be dealing with racism as well because we have some black stories full of their
Anyone
racism.
can experience racism. Racism is a hatred that's like vinegar. And you can take vinegar and tenderize meat. So to me, racism is like vinegar. And but when it's used and applied the way that people who hate others for their own ignorant reasons, and if they can terrorize the life out of you, the happiness out of you, then they've won. So I refuse to let them win, even after all the bad days that I've had in my life. I still look high to God and praise Him for His Son Jesus. I know that this is not all to it, but for whatever reason, this has to come to pass, and things have to be brought out, and the time is now for it to be brought out.
Oh, yeah.
Because racism is very much alive in your community, in this hometown, in this small mobile. There's a woman and a girl that has been terrorized for, I said 8 to 9 years, but it can go back as far as 14 years. When I think about the different residents that I've moved in, and I've had all types of people jumping my fence and stealing my personal papers, and I had no idea what was going on until I moved at this particular residence. And it got so intense, and I began to put things together because I've done nothing to anybody. I've had no run-ins with anybody. I've never hurt anybody. And this is the only situation that has come up in my life that would exude this type of terrorist tactics being done toward myself and my daughter. I don't have time to go out and play the hate game or play the race game. I was accused in court of flipping things around, and from what he called me, I was told that I'll call him racist names, but that never transpired. False witnesses were brought against me in the courtroom. He was given a slap on the hand, and he was said that he would have it expunged from his records, but I'm sure it's not expunged from his mind, because it definitely wasn't expunged from my heart. Because I have been experiencing all of this. No matter where we've gone, I have never found any happiness because of the physical things that were done. And I just know that my happiness was inside of me, and that was the love of God. And it's still in my daughter, the love of God. And things have got to get a lot better. They have to get better. I can't keep going bumper to bumper, no matter where I move, no matter where I live. Someone is coming in and out of my residence and still taking things from us and still vandalizing my vehicles. Every morning I will get up. I'm not every morning, but a lot of mornings I can see it because it was something. If it wasn't my tires being flattened, there were my hedges. They were being chopped up. My cactus is chopped up with an axe. My cable wires being cut. There was stains put on the floor. The pictures on my wall turned crooked when we come home, but the TVs and the stereos and the computers, all this stuff is still in my home, but the other things that would really work on your mind and say, well, okay, you know somebody's been in here, but the intruder has come in, but they didn't take anything big. But if I go to my file cabinet, there's something taken out of it. There's papers that are missing. There may be appointments and stuff that I've had, notes, personal notes, my tablets that I wrote notes in, all of these type of things are what my current things of my plans are, what I plan to do this week, today, next week, next month. All of those things are taken. So this was either to plan to come back to intrude and come back into my home again, but then it got to be technical to where my phone had been hacked over 7 times.
Excuse me. And Miss White, we got to cut this show by the it's about to we're at the end of the show, but we're gonna come back with a part 2. We're gonna schedule you to come back on for another date, and hopefully I can sit down with you and do a live interview via Facebook Live, and we can just have all the time. We can just go ahead and go all out with it.
And I would like to appeal to anyone in the public, whether it be the FBI or a civil rights person that would like to talk to me about the things that transpired in my life the past 15 years. I would be glad to talk to anyone. If there's anyone that can help find out for definite about these stalkers and other things that have happened, I would love for you to just give them my number. I'll be glad to talk to them.
Okay. That was a lot. I do thank time you came out for your schedule to be a part of the broadcast. I know we've been numerous times with it, but I'm going to bring you back on again and hope to do a live interview, sit-down interview. We can talk about it face-to-face also.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Jackson.
Oh, you're welcome. Like I said, I'll be in touch with you, and this won't be the
time. And perhaps someone listening, if any of these things have happened to them, they'll feel free to call in and join us on the show. There's a lot of other things that I would like to reiterate. There's a lot of things that are happening in Mobile. That's like you said, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities. And there are a lot of things happening with our young men that are not things of flesh and blood. Although we're being made to say that, we would take another one out, we don't value their life. There is a reason for these things happening. You really got to think very, very deep about the times that we live in and what the possibilities of what the adversary will do.
Oh, that's true. And like I said,
he doesn't miss anything. He saw it all. All has been done. I mean, the people that have been getting away with this, God sees it all.
That's true. And that's true. And like I said, we're going to get more in detail with it. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, listening to the broadcast for a little while. We're going to be back again. I'll be back on Saturday, October the 6th. I have Divine Purpose. They have an event coming up called Push for Peace. They're going to be talking about that. And also, I'm bringing Miss White back on as well with another date. So we finish this up. And Miss White, I do thank you. I will be in contact with you. And this won't be the last time. I do thank you once again.
Okay, then thank you, too.
Bye-bye.
Until we meet again. Take
yes,
care.
Ma'am. Take care.